Hey everyone, it's Jill, the Wandering Stamper. I hope you're having a fabulous Wednesday. Today we are going to make a really cool pop-out panel card, and I can't wait to show it to you. I had so much fun today. I had all these cards on my list I was going to work on for upcoming birthdays and things, and I got so consumed with making these cards. It took me all afternoon. I just had a lot of fun playing. So this fun fold is a great way to just sit, relax, and be creative. I just kind of added things to it as I went, and I had so much fun. I think you're going to really like this one. So let me take a moment to turn the camera down and we'll get started. Thanks for joining me. Here are the products we're going to be using today to make this card. So I pulled out some Petal Pink alcohol markers, Stampin' Blends alcohol markers, along with some Pool Party. So we've got just two colors, Pool Party and Petal Pink. I've got some diamond embellishments. Love these. I've been using these for years. We're going to be using the Country Birdhouse Suite, the Country Birdhouse stamps and dies, and then a couple of pieces from Country Flowers. And remember, I think I told you this in the past, the two stamp sets coordinate with each other. So if you have both of them, you get kind of double bang for your buck. So these are really great sets to have. And then I'm pairing it with, of course, Pool Party, Petal Pink, and then the designer series paper that comes in the Country Birdhouse Suite. I think it's called Country Woods, or no, it is called Country Lace. So I'm using these three patterns here, and it's all going to come together really beautifully. So this is the card we're going to create, and I'm going to show you how to make this little kind of buckle here to close the card. But you open up the card and look at this. This beautiful birdhouse pops out. It sits on a counter just like that. There's plenty of room to write. It's just a really sweet card. So let's get started and I'll show you how to make this card. Let me pull my chair in a little. I can't quite reach my stuff. Okay, so I'm going to put all of these materials aside, and we're going to start out with our base. Our base is Smoky Slate. Really like this color. It's kind of gray, but not too in-your-face gray. So to make this pop-out panel card, you're going to need a base of 8 inches by 5.5. Since this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, I'm just going to cut it at 5.5 inches. And then I'm going to just cut a ½ inch off to make it 8 inches wide. You could also pull the Army or cutter out to do it that way. I have a lot of stuff on my desk today, so I decided that it was going to work out better to do it this way. All right, I'm going to move these blocks down here. All right, so now we're going to do a little scoring. I'm going to put the cutting blade to the bottom. So we've got our 8 by 5.5 piece of paper. I've got the 8-inch side at the top, and I'm going to score it at 2 inches, 4 inches, and 6 inches. Okay, that's it. So that's all you need for that. Now you're going to want to decide how you want to do your panels. I've got one panel design on the front, so I need 2 of those, and then I have four inside, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need 6 panels of designer series paper and 2 panels of white. All right, so I'm going to start out with my, I guess I would call this my Petal Pink Paisley paper, and I'm going to need 2 of these at 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to cut at the 1 3/4, and then I just need 2 that are 5 1/4 long. So 1 and 2. Okay, so that's going to be for my front. And then for my middle, I decided to use these little dots in Petal Pink just to make it different. So again, I'm going to be doing 4, so that's going to be 1 3/4, and I'm going to do a second one, 1 3/4, And the beauty of Designer Series paper is you can stack 2 of them together and cut 2 at once. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put my ends together, and I'm going to cut those at 5 1/4, just like I did previously with the other design. And then one more time at 5 1/4. So that gives me 4 of those pieces for my inside. And then I want to have 2 pieces for the back because of course we want to have space to write a message, right? So 1 3/4. And then we've got 5 1/4 and 5 1/4. Okay, so that's for our back. And then you're going to want a piece for the middle that is 5 inches by 1 inch. What I usually do, this one happens to be 1 inch. I look in my scrap bin because I usually have a scrap that's going to be very close to that. I make sure it's 5 inches long or 4 3/4 inches long, and about 1 inch wide, but it could be a 1/2 or 3/4 inch and work fine. So once you have that 1 by 5 piece of cardstock, you're going to score it at a 1/2 inch on both sides. So I'm putting it on that 1/2 inch mark right there, so I can hold it with my left hand. It's just easier, just like that. Okay, so that is our middle. All right, I think that's all we need for the moment. So let me show you how to put this together. So here are all our pieces. So we've got our center panel. We've got our 2 pieces for the outside front. We've got 2 pieces for the outside back. We've got 4 pieces for the inside. Okay, and then we're going to do lots of decorating. So what I'm going to do is take my bone folder and I'm going to fold all of these the same direction. So we've got 3 score lines, and we're going to fold those all in the same direction and give them a good crease. Okay, so the 2 middle pieces should fold up fine and there shouldn't be any overlap. If for any reason there is, just adjust your paper a little and then re-burnish it and it'll fix that for you. And then you're also going to want to burnish the edges of that 1 by 5 piece that we scored a 1/2 inch on. We're going to go ahead and burnish that as well. And that is all we're going to do there. So now we're going to start building our card. I told you this is really easy, but it's so stunning. So we're going to start out by, I'm going to start out by grabbing my 2 outside pieces. Now if you have directional paper, make sure it's going in the right direction. Mine isn't, so I'm just going to be gluing these on. And I'm going to grab my glue press and just start gluing these. It rained. Well, it didn't rain a lot today in Colorado, but it thundered a lot. It got super dark. It's actually kind of creepy out for a while. It sprinkled a little, and now the sun is shining, so I guess that's it. I guess that's all we're getting here. And I'm hoping when I go outside that means it cooled off because it's been super hot. We come here a lot in the summertime because the kids and the grandkids are all stationed here. And it's not usually this hot, I feel. Like this is the hottest summer we've ever had coming here. And this is the 3rd or 4th summer we've been here. We've been traveling for 4 years. And one summer we did the West Coast, so we didn't come during the summer. But anyways, it's been hot. All right, so my 2 outside pieces are done. These 2 panels are for the back, but we're going to do some stamping, so we're going to leave those alone. And now I'm going to go ahead and add these 4 middle panels really quick for you. There we go. So all of our insides are done and our 2 outsides are done. So see how fun that contrast is? It's really great. So now we have this little piece in the middle. This is just going to be put very close to the middle. You want to be aware of your score lines because you want it to be able to close. So if you find that it's a little bit too close, like on this one I kind of scored it a little bit off, I'm just going to make it go a little bit more in. It's not going to show, so it's okay to do that. And then I'm just going to burnish it again so that it's a little smaller. Okay, so now that we have that adjusted, I'm going to go ahead and add some liquid glue or whatever strong adhesive you have just on these little tabs. And then you just want to eyeball about where the center would be. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want it to be kind of straight. So I am just holding it and adjusting it. So now it's perfect and my card closes perfectly. Okay, so that is going to be our piece that pops out. All right, so that's done. So now we're going to go ahead and do some other pieces. Let's go ahead and build our birdhouse. So before you came on, I went ahead, or we came on here, I went ahead and die cut all my pieces. So let me show you what I have. So I die cut a birdhouse in smoky slate. Now I did this because if I just did the paper it would be flimsier and I wanted it to be a little sturdier. So I cut the smoky slate and then I also die cut the designer series paper, and this is the smoky slate pattern. So that is the first piece. And then we've got our little, I call it the little bird feeder on the bottom. I stamped happy birthday on it. I didn't do that with my first sample, but I thought that would be a fun addition. So that's the bottom. And then we have the piece for the roof right here. And then we've also got in Pool Party this little scalloped piece. So that will go there. And then I also cut this thin white piece, so that will go on there. And then we have the little stand for the birdhouse. So that's going to go on there, and I actually might put it on there like this. And then we have some flowers, and I used the, oh, and a bird. We've got the bird already colored. And then instead of using the circle die that comes with it, it bothers me. I know why they did it, because there's a hole in the middle, and that's the piece that you use for the little perch down here. But it leaves a hole in the middle of your paper, and a lot of time I'll just cut two and then stick it back in the hole and glue it, and you barely see it. But today I decided to use the smallest circle that's in the Stylish Shapes dies, and it was the perfect size for that, and I liked how it had the decorative kind of punched circles on the edge. So that's what I die cut. So now we're going to go ahead and start assembling it all. So I'm going to start out by putting some liquid glue down here on the house, and I'm going to pop this on top as close to perfect as I can, and then once I get it there I can kind of hold it in my hand and make sure all the edges are lined up. It's super easy, and since we use the same tone of cardstock, even if a teeny bit shows, you can't see it. So that was kind of why I used the smoky slate too. So the next piece I'm going to do is the roof. So I'm going to flip it over and add some liquid glue here. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to get it as close to where it needs to be as possible. And then I'm just going to take my fingers and run them along the edge just to make sure everything's lined up. It lines up pretty easily. All right, and so then the next piece you want to add is the scallop. Trying not to get my hands gluey. You wouldn't believe what my hands look like before we came on. I really had to scrub them, and I still have a little ink on them. I played with so many colors of ink today, and I had it everywhere. I am not a neat stamper, that's for sure. All right, see how pretty that is? Now that looks perfectly pretty by itself, but I found adding this little white strip just gives it a little extra dimension. Now it is a little tricky getting adhesive on here, so if you don't have a glue press like I do, which I can just put little dots of it, and it's a very fine stream. You could also die cut it onto a piece of adhesive paper, an adhesive sheet, that's what I'm trying to say. This is hard to hold on to. I think I'm going to have to get the tweezers that I have the really old embossing set that's from years ago. It didn't come with tweezers, and now it does, so I might have to get the tweezers because it'll probably save me from getting really sticky all the time. But this little piece just goes right here at the top of the scallop, kind of right, and it just kind of hides the seam on your house. So it's just a nice way to finish that off. I like it. I really like it that way. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is add this piece here, and I decided I was going to use dimensionals to put that on there so it kind of pops up a little bit. And I'm hoping I'm not too far down. No, I'm not. Good. I got a new phone for my birthday, and I have a privacy screen on it. I'm going to make a confession here. I play Candy Crush. I've been playing Candy Crush for a long time, over 10 years, probably a good 10 years, if not a little longer. And it's embarrassing sometimes when I'm sitting places playing games. So I like the privacy screen for that. I mean, I shouldn't care what anybody thinks, but I like the privacy screen because I can play my games and nobody really knows I'm playing them. But the problem is I can't just peek at my phone while I'm making a video without standing up because I can't really see it. So that's kind of a pain. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is put this circle on. I'm just going to put a little glue in the middle and just get that sort of center till it looks pretty good. All right. And my bird, I'm going to put my bird over here, but I want to put a dimensional on him up here because his head, because this is on a dimensional, so I'm going to put his feet directly onto this little gray box, but I'm going to put a dimensional behind his head so that he doesn't kind of get squished into the card. And I'm not even going to put adhesive where his feet are. I think that the dimensional is all I'll need. I'm just going to check and make sure that dimensional is not sticking out. So now he's got the kind of the same height. If he moves around, you can put a little bit of glue. Maybe I'll do that right under his feet. I'm just going to put a little dot right here and pop that down. You don't really have to do that. So then the next thing I'm going to do is add a couple flowers. So I'm going to put this, again, I'm going to use a dimensional on this first flower. I'm going to use a mini dimensional. And the mini dimensionals fit the backs of these flowers perfectly. So this one is in Pool Party, and I'm putting this dimensional kind of right off the box. And then this one I'm going to glue right to the gray box. It doesn't need a dimensional. You could use a glue dot. I'm just going to use a little liquid glue. And where do I want to put it? That's the question. I think I'll put it, I don't want to cover anything. Put it right there. All right, I'm going to give that a second to dry. All right, so now on the top, I'm going to do the reverse. I'm going to do the pink up here with the blue next to it, and I'm not using any dimensionals on this one. Ooh, Jill. So I'm going to put that one right there, and that dry. Wipe that off okay. If it doesn't wipe off well, get yourself one of these little erasers, and then you can rub it over there. But that actually, I was able to wipe that right off. You know, I didn't use a dimensional before, but I think on this one I will. We'll pop it up a little bit. So I'm going to do that one right there. Okay? Look how cute that is. Really, really cute. Now, a little bit of my dimensional is showing. So let me show you. If that happens, just take your pick tool, and if you mush it a little bit into the corners, that disappears. So I just kind of tuck and push, and that'll take care of that for you. All right, so that is looking good. I think the only thing it needs now is some sparkle. So I'm going to go ahead and put these little rhinestones right in the middle of the flowers, because why not? And let's see, I'm gonna try this medium one here. Yep, that works. So I'm using the medium ones on the bigger flowers and the small ones on the smaller flowers. All right, so that is done. So now all we have to do is add this to the inside of our card. Look how pretty that is. So what I like to do, I kind of just get an idea of how wide. I don't want my adhesive sticking out, so I'm just putting a couple of these right in the middle where I know that my birdhouse is not going to show, or the adhesive is not going to show over my birdhouse. Now, you know what? Before I do that, let's lay this here so we can get an idea of where that needs to go. So I am actually pointing the point of the house right where the score line is. So I know it's in the middle. So that looks nice and straight. So now I want my little stand to be just above the bottom of my card. Okay, I don't want it sticking out. So I just drew a little line. I know that I don't want any adhesive to go past this line. So that's why I drew that line there. And then I'm just going to tuck, when you use the, you could use liquid glue for this. When you use the Stampin' Seal Plus, it's tabs. So I like that you can kind of move the tabs around. So that's what I did. And now I'm going to put that back, just covering up where I put that pencil line. And so now, look at that. Isn't that adorable? Okay, so that is the inside and that's complete. So now we're gonna work on the outside. So I decided that I wanted to use the hexagon, the heartfelt hexagon punch. It's the punch that goes with there's a couple of stamp sets that coordinate with this. And I find this punch so handy that I use it a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and, I think I have some scraps. I'm gonna go ahead and punch one out on a scrap of paper. All right. And then I'm gonna grab another scrap of paper. Let's see if I have one big enough. Look at this. This is how I keep all my scraps in the front of my paper pack so they're easy to grab, because I'm a scrap paper hoarder apparently. I have so much scraps. Okay, gonna cut that out. So now I have two, and you're probably wondering why I have two. This is why, because when I put them on my card, I want to have them a little bit offset. It just makes it interesting. So that was the method to my madness. So now I'm going to grab the stamp that says, "So lucky to know you." And that one happens to be, okay, I already pulled it. It's in the Country Flowers stamp set. And I'm going to grab my Memento ink, Tuxedo Black, of course. Ink that up nicely. I've been stamping a lot today, so I want to make sure my pad is not getting dry. Now I'm going to anchor this a little bit lower than I normally would. Let me get the silicone craft sheet out of the way. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. So there we go. So lucky to know you. Set that aside. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to be adding these flowers that kind of buckle over it, and I don't want them impeding the words very much, so that's why I'm kind of doing it. So now you have choices. You could offset this just like this and glue it, or you could do it a little bit like that and have it hang off. I've seen people do it this way. That looks kind of cool. So there's just so many ways you can attach this, but I am going to do this one, I think, just like this. So I'm just kind of deciding and putting my finger where I don't want glue. And I'm going to use my liquid glue here, and I'm just going to kind of mimic the shape. Let's get that silicone craft sheet back, because I'm Might be making a mess today. And I'm just going to kind of get it where I think I want it, and then I can adjust it with my hands a little bit. Make sure I don't have glue. So there we go. So it just makes it a little bit more interesting. So now that is going to be put on the front of this card, right in the center. So I know my center is going to be about right there. So I don't want my glue to go past here. So I'm just kind of using my fingernail on my other hand to sort of decide where I want the glue. And now I'm going to lay that back down, just kind of close to the center. Make sure everything's straight, okay? And then I'm just going to give it a push, make sure everything's good, make sure there's no glue anywhere. So really cute. Now you could put a belly band here, but I thought it would be kind of cool to, I've seen this done and I've never done it myself, so I thought it would be fun to put these flowers here and then make it kind of buckle under the flowers. So that was what I decided to do. Now on my other sample I used a dimensional and popped it up like that. I'm thinking this time I'm just going to glue it down and see how that works, because I've never done it that way. So I know that I only want the glue over here. We're trying this out for the first time. See how it works. So I'm going to put the glue there. I'm going to close my card, and I'm just going to put my flowers like that. Now we're going to take them back out. I just want to make sure I didn't get any glue anywhere I'm not supposed to. So we're going to give that a moment to dry, and then we're going to test it. Now we're going to work on this back. So for the back pieces, I decided to keep it fairly simple. So I have my two panels right here. So I'm going to grab Hello Friend, which actually comes from the Country Birdhouse. Actually, do I want to do that? You know what? Since we did Happy Birthday on the front, let's do something else. I'm going to do Sending Love. So I did the Happy Birthday right here. So I think we're going to do Sending Love. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hope this works, because I ran out of regular tape, household tape, but I put a little piece of, I use this a lot, this frog tape. I use it a lot to anchor things down. So I blocked off the word love so that I'm only inking sending. So I'm going to ink that up really well. And then I'm going to peel off that paper, and I'm going to, I think I'm going to put it, I'll put it here. I'm going to stamp that down. Okay, sending. And so now I'm going to clean that off. Let's grab a baby wipe. I'm going to just wipe this off. And now I'm going to do the same thing with sending. I'm going to get a new piece of tape because I don't want to make a mess. You could probably use the same piece, but I'm going to grab another piece, and I'm going to put it over the word sending, just like that. Ooh, I didn't make it long enough. I think this will work. Let's do this side. Aye, aye. Let's get a longer piece of paper. Let's get a longer piece of tape, Jill. Do it right. Okay. And I'm going to use my sticky scissors and give it a haircut so the end's clean. All right, I'm just putting that. This is a little tricky. Okay, there we go. So I've got that masked off. So now I'm going to ink it up again really well. This is great too if you want to stamp in two colors. you could do it this way and change your color out. And now I'm going to put, I'm trying not to put my head near camera view. I'm going to put love right there. So sending love. All right, because it would have been too long to put the whole piece across there. So this allows me to do it, and it makes it kind of interesting. So that's why we're doing it that way. And then the other thing we want to do, I think, is add another bird. I love birds. So I am inking that up well. And we're going to add a little bird down here. So there's something on each panel. And you know what? I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm going to grab this little flower, take this off. I'm going to ink up this little flower since we have some blank space here, and stamp that little flower there. That little empty spot was bothering me, so that filled it up. All right. We're done improvising. What did hello from? I'm trying to make sure I'm putting things in the right place. Sometimes I get these two stamp sets mixed up, and that makes things crazy. Okay, so we're going to close up this stamp pad, and I'm going to very quickly color this little flower in petal pink, because that's what I did to the flowers on the front and the inside, so keep that the same. And now I'm going to work on this bird. So these alcohol markers are so fun to color with because they make coloring so simple, and I love that there's no streaks. I used to color with the chalks and the markers and, you know, just all different kinds of ways to color. And I have to say, once they came out with these, this became my only way of coloring, because this stuff dries streak free, and you do your shading with the darker shade, go back over it with the lighter shade, and all your coloring just looks so good. So now I don't color any other way. Once in a while I'll use blending brushes or sponges, but not very often. Okay. I mean, that looks really good all by itself. I'm going to do his little beak in the darker shade just because it's tiny. Now, when you have really small areas like these feet, I'm barely touching it and I'm just kind of dotting the color because it will spread a little. All right, so now that's done. I'm going to go ahead and grab the dark, and I'm going to give him a little shading on his belly. Just a little. We're going to let that dry for a second. And then I'm going to go to my darker pool party, and I'm going to just add some detail on these wings. Just like that. Nothing fancy. And then we'll go back over the light pink, and I'm just brushing outwards just to get rid of any lines, and it does the shading for you that way. And then I'm using my brush tip. That's what I keep looking at the marker for. And then I'm doing the same thing on the wings. I'm just pulling that color out a little and doing the same thing here on the tail. Okay, and that's it. That's all we have to do. So there are our panels for the back. So let's go ahead and put those on. I can't wait to show you the other samples I made. I had so much fun with these today. Whoa, look at that. This is why you use the silicone craft sheet. All right, stop making a mess, Jill. All right, so there is our first side. So pretty. And I love writing in my cards, so I always have to make sure there's a space. And this is the perfect space. And I'm just eyeballing this to kind of make sure it's all at the same level. So when you're looking at them side by side, they match. All right. Are we ready to test my theory this will work? Let's try this out. Oh, well, it almost worked. I put a little too much glue. So maybe the dimensionals are the better option, but let's do a little card surgery and get that to fit. Yep, there we go. There was just a teeny tiny little spot. So honestly, I feel like this closes the card better than my other sample where I used the dimensionals. So I used the dimensionals and raised this a little bit, but the card doesn't shut as much. And I feel like gluing this one, the card is staying closed more. But they both look good. So what do you think? What would you do? I'm curious to know. Now I am going to go ahead and add a couple embellishments here because we did it on the inside. We might as well do it on the outside. And I'll add one down here. Okay, so now our card is done. So here was my sample I did earlier today. This one says, "So lucky to know you." I did not put happy birthday. And on the back it just says, "Hello, friend." Very sweet little card. I can't wait to give this to someone. And it just closes like that. So here's our card we just created. So this one, I glued it down instead of using the dimensional. So lucky to know you again. That's the same. And then I added happy birthday to the inside. So see how this sits up? So stinking cute. Oh my God. I love this card so much. I might have to make more. So I feel like adding this little piece here just makes it extra fun. And then I raised these with dimensionals, which I didn't do on my other sample, but I really like it. And it's very easy to close. I love that. And then on the back, sending love with the little bird. So there's our first sample. Now, wait till you see the other ones I made. Let me get this out of the way. Okay. Where did I put them? They're hiding under my cutter. All right, so this next one, this was originally the first one I made, and this uses the Unbound Beauty designer series paper, and I paired it with the Summer Splash cardstock and the Petunia Pop, so I kind of kept all those colors going. I made a belly band for this one, and then die cut some flowers to kind of keep my colors going. And then I created the flower from Enduring Beauty, which matches the flower on the Unbound Beauty designer series paper. So those coordinate together, which I love. So I went ahead, I didn't stamp it, I just used the layering templates and colored them all in. So that one is super pretty, and it just stands up like that. Now when you make this centerpiece, you can make it as big or small as you want. You just want to make sure that it's not too big that the card doesn't close. So that's the only thing you need to be aware of. So you can just change up the inside any way you want. It works as long as the card will close. So that one's really pretty. And I painted Wink of Stella in the middle of these flowers, which is super pretty. And I know you probably can't see that. And then before you mail it, just add the little belly band, which is super simple to make. I left the back blank to just write on because I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this. It just says you mean so much to so many. So I'm not sure who I'll be sending this to. So I left it blank. So that's sample number 2. Oh my gosh, this one's my favorite. Sample number 3 uses the Submarine Life stamps. I didn't use designer series paper on this card. I just created my own designer series paper by stamping tone on tone. So this is basic red, and then this, or real red, I called it basic red, real red, and balmy blue paper, and then I stamped in balmy blue, real red, and granny apple green. And I used the punch to create this fun little belly band. I punched out the periscope and the propeller in silver metallic paper. And then I stamped the seagrass and just fussy cut it and layered it onto the belly band. And then I also fussy cut one of the little crab dudes and had him kind of wandering around in the paper in the seagrass. So super cute. I think this would be really pretty embossed with clear embossing too to make it shiny, or coloring it with Wink of Stella. You do have to be careful when you color the regular ink with Wink of Stella because it will smear. So if you get it into the white area, you could get red in there. So I kind of tend to not do too much with that on regular inks. But I'll use it over blending pens and stuff like that a lot. So wait till you see the inside. So you pull off this belly band, floating by to say hi, and whoop, look at that. It is the porthole from the submarine. So I created this porthole by die cutting the two largest circles from the Stylish Shapes dies in metallic silver, and then I used my smallest hole punch and hole punched little circles, little holes all the way around, so it kind of looks like it has, it's like a porthole and it has the little screws or whatever. And then I also cut another piece of window sheet, and then I cut a piece of white as well. So I layered, so I stamped the white piece. I also brushed it with some balmy blue to kind of give it a water background. I added the rhinestones where the bubbles are to make them fun. And then I layered these together using dimensionals, mini dimensionals, so that it looks like a window looking into the ocean. So I really love how this came out. And then the way I created these panels is before I cut them this way, I cut them to the length and width, and then I stamped it all, and then I sliced my 1 3/4 inch pieces. So that way I kind of had a picture. So when you put these side by side, it's almost like a puzzle. It all goes together. So I thought that was super fun. And then on the back, I created another scene by stamping and adding happy birthday. So this will be a happy birthday card, and I did brush very lightly with some balmy blue to again give him that underwater cover feel. And so when you put this little belly band on, it's just so cute. I think this is my favorite. It's really hard. It's kind of a tie between these two, but I really like how this came out. So let me know what you think. Let me know which your favorites are. I'm very curious to know. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you get notified every Wednesday when my new videos come out, and anything new that comes out. I am trying to get motivated to get some shorts done and some tips and tricks and quick card layouts and stuff for you. I just haven't done them yet. We've been super busy with the kids, and I have a grandchild due any day now, so we've been kind of going a lot of different directions. But also don't forget, below is a link to my online store. It's also a link to my blog, which will have all the cutting instructions, photos, and products that I use for these cards. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you get a chance to try this card out soon, and I hope you get a chance to craft today. Thanks for joining me today, and I will see you again soon. Bye.